I went on AliExpress, ordered RoadBlasters, and the results may surprise you. Overlander is a 1988 RoadBlasters clone from Elite, concept by Simon Cook. And we're starting off on the Sinclair Spectrum. You know RoadBlasters, you go along a road, you shoot things, you get to a destination. It's cars with guns. So the aim of the game is to transport a cargo to the end of each level, and you get to choose what you're going to transport. We go for secret documents or counterfeit money. The dodgy option always gets you more money. You have to stock up on fuel, or gas as the Americans like to call it, and then you get to add your extra weapons, or extra upgrades indeed, things like super brakes to stop you faster, turbocharge, you get better acceleration, flamethrower, wheel blades, bulletproofing that stops people outside the road shooting you, and so on. So level 1 is Devil's Straight, and I've got the turbocharger, so I've gone from 0 to 160 in an incredibly quick amount of time. You can shove the other cars off the road, or you can shoot them. If you hold forwards at the same time as shooting, you will launch whatever special weapon you have at this moment. On the specky here, I have none. You can choose from a flamethrower, a missile, or there's something else. Indicated down the bottom left, you can only have one of them at a time. So far, looking very conventional. Over to the Amstrad CPC. Very blue loading screen. CPC's got lots of blues, of course. Very well used in games like the Blues Brothers and the Untouchables, both by Ocean. So the Amstrad, yes, it's a direct Spectrum clone. And running as you'd, well, yeah. You think they could choose a more attractive colour scheme for the first level? A bit brighter? That truck there's one of the enemy trucks that will shoot at you and just generally get in your way. Some of them drop fire, well, Molotov cocktails from behind them. There are various cars abandoned by the side of the road. I say abandoned, exploded upside down. Motorcyclists, you would have thought they might be able to shoot you from the side, but really they just seem to ride around you. You're doing 160, but really the game's relation with speed is a slightly odd one. Over to the 64. Coding 64 is by Richard Underhill, and the music by Mark Cooksey. Now, I was expecting some music in the game, but I don't have any. But on Lemon 64, there's a couple of tracks that could potentially be gameplay tracks, because there's no sound effects, so I guess the crack I've got here is missing the music. I've had a listen to the music on Lemon 64, and they sound quite good tracks by Mark Cooksey, so I'm not quite sure what's going on, or whether you have to manually activate the music. It seems strange to be silent like this. Regardless, the gameplay is the same as the Spectrum and Amstrad versions. And there's not a lot of variation between the levels, so it's always the same baddies, just different coloured backgrounds. And it ramps up, of course. On the C64, you get to go 180, not 160. But we're now over to the Amiga. And this didn't come out in 1988, it came out in 1990. Apparently, it was redesigned and reprogrammed in response to the poor reviews for the C64 version. So all looking good so far, and it's going to be all being coded and compiled on DevPack, the assembler of choice at this time, especially for ST owners, which gives you a clue of where we might be going. But nevertheless, looks nice. You get half your money up front, and by the way, just as a tip for the game, I've never seen any difference in the difficulty level between the legitimate cargo and the illegal cargo. None. You just get more money, so you might as well go for the illegal one every time. We've got some copper effects on the Amiga, and it's quite fast and smooth. Oh, explosion. I think it's riffing on games like, I don't know, Crazy Cars. The weapons look a bit better, although I seem to, I think, probably use all of them in one go. I have. I've used all my special weapons in one go. Oh no, I've got 4 left. Over to the Atari ST, where certainly the 16-bit version originated, and that was noted by several of the magazines reviewing the Amiga version. So it says the Overlander ST version was done in 1988. Okay, so perhaps it was the Amiga version only that was 1990. Coding music by Jazz C. Brooke of Binary Design. Again, we're choosing our cargo. You get 50% up front. Fueling up. We're forward to the start of the game. So the ST version is already noticeably more ugly than the Amiga version. The car sprites are dreadful and appear to float above the roadway. But that's not the biggest problem, as we'll come to very shortly. Ah, there we go. The game crashed. With this, which is a dev pack, it's gone. It's gone. So what appears to be the case with the ST version is it only works if you have the specific version of TOS that the code is used. Any other version, it doesn't work. Now, there are bug fix versions available, and we've gone back to the Spectrum. There are bug fix versions available, but I couldn't get any of those to work either. They all crashed out. So we'll come back to the ST under emulation later, but we are on the Specky now. And that weird hill climbing thing, I'm getting a hint of Super Trucks. I wonder if there's a relation between the engine in this and the one in Super Trucks on the Z80 versions. Now these things will, if you stop, the enemies will just go left and right in front of you without actually moving. So whatever speed you're going, the enemy will go left and right in front of you, even if you are static and they're not actually moving forward. But never mind. All versions of this game seem to have a peculiar relationship with physics. Now, we're still on level 1, and I'm going to tell you now, this is pretty much all the game really has to offer. There's not a lot of variation beyond this for the 4 levels going towards the end of the game. Oh yeah, there'll be some people shooting you from the side of the road in a minute, but there's only really 2 or 3 types of baddies: the bikes, standard car, and the trucks. There'll be some roadblocks and things. End of level. We've got our cargo through. $6,000. Now there we go. We choose our missions again. We're going to fuel up. Battering rams are handy if there are roadblocks. You can just run into them without your car exploding. Wheel blades are handy if you want to shove cars off the side of the road if they're next to you, although you can just bounce off them and they tend to go off the road. We've got a better colour scheme for level 2, yellow. This is what level 1 should have looked like, both on the Amstrad and the Spectrum. I had RoadBlasters back in the day. I bought it in that era in 92, 93, when there weren't that many budget games on the shelves and the stockists were just trying to get rid of what they had. Amstrad version, there's no grab factor. There's just no grab factor. I've seen some people reviewing it online saying, oh, actually, I played this quite a lot. But this isn't Chase HQ. This isn't, other racing games like Power Drift, where there's a grab factor, an incentive to do more, to get a better position. Yes, you've got to finish each of these rather long levels, but there's no checkpoints, no sense of, oh, I could get a little bit further next time, or I might see something new. He just doesn't have it. You keep thinking of RoadBlasters, and I've probably been accidentally saying RoadBlasters in the review as well, because it's very easy to get these things confused, but although RoadBlasters was never a particularly good game. Back onto my Silent 64 version, no idea why I don't have music, but there you go. To be honest, music isn't going to add a lot to this. It It's got that C64 road engine that looks quite... Oh, big bad enemy in front of me. Sure Ford are about happy about having their name in the game there. Now we finished the level. There we go. Music again. As I say, I'm sure the game has music. It's just I don't have any on my version here. Incidentally, there's a whole loader if you're loading this off tape as well. With I think it's got music and some stuff going on. It was only ever used on this particular game. So, level 2, Twilight Runner, which is not so much twilight as just darkness. It's not attractive, is it? It's, yeah. Think of Night Racer and how good that looks. And then look at this. It's, yeah. And once you go, yeah, the horizon goes down and it's just black. And there are fundamental design issues with this game. What are those things? That man on skateboards going back and forth. There are fundamental design issues with this game and just poor choices as well. We're on to the ST version, which I'm running under emulation. Sorry about that, but it's the only way I can get it running. And yeah, it has that early 16-bit vibe about it, but of these kind of graphics that almost look kind of like the things you'd see in PD games. Very primitive graphics. Road movement is achieved by flashing the layers on the road, the stripes on the road. It's, yeah, just 1999 in an era where you're trying to say to people, come and have a 16-bit computer. You know, it's good. It's twice as good. It's got twice as many bits. It's got many, many more colours. And you come to this and go, actually, you know what? The graphics are slightly better, but it plays exactly the same. This was always my problem going around to my mate's house with his ST. It was like, yeah, what's other than the fact you're paying far more for these games, what am I getting here? What am I getting? Games like Carrier Command, I could see the advantage, but you know, he didn't have this, but I saw games like this on his computer, and it's like, yeah, Space Harrier and Outrun on 16 bits on the ST. And it's like, really? Because I can't see this is worth it. Games like Supercars began to change my mind, but again, I got that on the Amstrad and it played pretty much the same. Then it was games like Formula 1 Grand Prix, and that was like, wow, actually there is a difference. You can do stuff with these computers, which is more than just, you know, an 8-bit game with slightly different graphics. Should get on to some of the reviews of the game. Zap gave it 46% and called it a poor 3D motor shoot 'em up. Amstrad Action gave it 81%. Crash 85%. Sinclair Use 81%. Your Sinclair on Specky 9 out of 10. So the Z80 version is going down quite well. Ace gave the Amiga 832, but Zap gave the Amiga version 64% in 1990, and said it was dated but nicely programmed. Now, eagle-eyed viewers may have spotted at the beginning of the review that there was an advert for the game, and Elite had provided a handy chart to show you all the features Overlander had compared to its competitors. Now, the start of this review wasn't the place to look at this because you hadn't seen the game yet, but let's have a look at it now. So you've got this chart that lists Overlander, WEC Le Mans, WEC Le Mans, Checkered Flag, RoadBlasters, Outrun, Nigel Mansell's Grand Prix, Pit Stop, and Pole Position. And there's some ticks for things like first-person perspective, fast action simulator, arm destruction, stomach-churning hilly road, player-controlled vehicle construction, first-class magazine reviews, and available on home computer. Well, let's have a look at all this, because Overlander gets ticks for everything. For example, Pole Position, it gets first-person perspective, which all the games do, in fact. Although it's not, is it first-person because you're behind the vehicle? Anyway, let's ignore that. Fast action simulation, well, they all get that apart from Checkered Flag, which is about 70 years old by this point, so why they're listing it, I don't know. RoadBlasters gets 3 ticks. It gets arm destruction, but it doesn't have stomach-churning hilly road or player-controlled vehicle construction. and it doesn't have, it's not applicable for reviews, but it is available on home computers. Outrun, yeah, first-person perspective, fast action simulation. Outrun on the home computers, a fast action simulation, but they've given it a tick. Arm destruction, well, no, Outrun isn't known for its arm destruction. Stomach-churning hilly road, well, yes, it does. It has a hilly road. In fact, it's one of the first racing games I can remember, certainly on the Amstrad, that the road goes up and down. But it gets a cross for that. Player-controlled vehicle construction, well, no, because it's Outrun, obviously. First-class magazine reviews, obviously not. And it's available on home computers. And this goes on. It's like they've deliberately picked stuff so that Overlander gets all the ticks and all the other games get crosses. Of course, WEC Le Mans, WEC Le Mans is not out on the home computers yet and won't be for another year, but it will certainly have a stomach-churning hilly road. It will not have arm destruction. I mean, this is the most elite thing Elite could ever do, isn't it? This chart, it's the most elite chart that could ever be made. Anyway, back to the Spectrum. And this is hideous. Light grey graphics on a black background meant to depict night. Just horrible. Why would you do this? Why wouldn't you have just variation? I know, but I just think it looks awful. Absolutely it's boring and just traipsing through the same kind of level, just with the increased difficulty of it all. Yeah. Should mention the car handling, which is absolutely fine, actually. Left and right, the road handling works. You're not suddenly being pushed off the road too much. You don't, there's at least... It's, that thing with Lotus where the game feels like it's flowing well. You're not getting unnecessarily pushed off on corners when you're going quite fast. That, Overlander has that, at least. C64, and this must be, I don't know, Thunder level. It's level 3, and yeah. So I go on to level 4 on the Amiga. What's this one called? Night level? Don't know, anyway. So this is how to do a Twilight level. Like, I know the Amiga's got the graphics, but... So, if we hit one of these roadblocks, which I did there, we lose one of the battering rams, the protections that we have, so we nail down to 3. And again, kind of that little outrun thing of having the lights in the middle of the road, and the roads, well, not quite separated, but... that's quite nice, but no traffic is going to come the other way. In fact, I don't think you're going to see any other traffic at all when there are roadblocks on the road. There is no time limit on the game, nothing counting down, you just have to survive. So really, I've been playing on these on infinite lives, but you just have to not be blown off the road as opposed to get to the checkpoint on time. Which means, look at that, a good example of weird physics, right? When the enemies in front of you on the Amiga and ST drop off the firebomb things, or people outside the road firing at me, the explosions don't travel as you'd expect them to. I can't even explain it. It's weird. They don't kind of suddenly stop or slow down as they hit the road. They just go a certain speed faster than you are. It's really weird when you start analysing it. You can come to a complete stop and they will kind of travel towards you just at a certain speed and go past you. Past those bikers. Just keep firing. There's no limit on standard bullets. But the car sprites are so much nicer on the Amiga. Perhaps that's the improvement Elite meant when they said they were upgrading it for the Amiga, and the criticisms they were going to give it better graphics. But the Amiga magazines, when they reviewed it, didn't notice that. They just said, look, this is a 16-colour ST game upgraded to the Amiga. Well, it's more than that. It does actually have new graphics. I will say this, the explosions do come towards you fast if you zap the enemies in front of you. It's just when they drop off the Molotov cocktails or fire bombs or whatever they are. Oh, I've got no battering rams left. Get out the way. But because there's no time limits, you can in fact go as slowly as you like if you want. Right, okay. There's a firebomb. See, it just stops. It's weird. It's just kind of weird. It stops, but it moves very slowly, even though I'm going 180 miles an hour towards it. There you go. Look at that. See, it's weird. It's moving. The vehicle in front of you is moving at the same speed as you, just slower. But the explosion is moving down the road. There you go. There. Weird. It's weird. Yeah, those explosions there are fine. Yeah. It's best not think about it too hard, but it really does kind of like, what's going on? First time you see it, it's like, why? You're trying to avoid it, and it's just kind of... Yeah. Now, I like the look of this Amiga version for a 1990 game. This level looks, you know, it's getting on towards the kind of look Lotus would have. A lot of it's the palette. The car sprite's fine, unlike here we are on the Amstrad, and we're doing 160 miles an hour, and it's jardering along like you're doing, I don't know, 20. While the Amstrad version isn't in 16 colour mode, low resolution mode 0, because they wanted to port it quickly from the Spectrum. Yeah, it's chugging. And the thing is, Elite are doing their thing of let's rip off a popular arcade game, but RoadBlasters wasn't really popular, was it? It was a fun game. You might give it a quick go in the arcade, but nothing special, nothing particularly memorable. I wonder if this was coded in case Elite managed to acquire the license, because who got it? Was it US Gold? There is a home version of it, but not very good. Back to the Spectrum, where at least we've got a little bit more pace. These men fire at you from the side of the road. The bullets come across, which is different. The bullets come across very slowly, but never mind, you do need the bulletproofing to avoid being shot here. Otherwise, they're very hard to get past. Back onto the Amiga. Lovely copper effect. Yeah, this is the Amiga's copper effects you saw in the magazines. I went, wow, look at that. More funny moving explosions. And it's some kind of space city in front of you. This game kind of rips off Mad Max, doesn't it, a little bit, I think. In the plot, in the instructions, talk about the world has been ravaged. I think it's the world's supposed to be ravaged by CFCs, apparently, I think. Static screenshot in a magazine. You can look at this and go, fancy a bit of this. Congratulations, you are a true Overlander. And that's the game ended at the end of level 5 on the Amiga. Let's see what the game ends like on the 64. Here we are with horrible black and white graphics and grey. There's a car, zooms around in front of me. Congratulations, mission completed. And that's the game. That's it. I've completed Overlander on the 64. Overlander, the AliExpress RoadBlasters. And that's notwithstanding RoadBlasters not being a particularly good game to begin with, in my opinion. Elite may have thought they were in with a chance of getting the license, started developing a game, then US Gold got the license and they were stuck with this. Could have been how it happened. Either way, it's not a good game on any of these systems. I'm going to start with the ST version, because how shoddily do you have to code a game for it to only work on one version of TOS? Apparently there are bug fix versions. I tried about 6 versions, couldn't get any of them to work on my ST without it crashing. But, you know, how shoddy do you have to be to do that? Just astonishing. And the game doesn't look any good, doesn't play any good. 20 quid, you could get better stuff for this for $2.99 on your 8-bit computers. Amiga version, it looks nice, but it came out 2 years later. Zap said it was dated but nicely programmed. I'd say actually it looks quite up to date with the copper effects and the car sprites, but yeah, gameplay is dated. 8-bit versions, Amstrad version really chugged. No idea how Amstrad Action came to the conclusion of 81%, nor come to that how Crash Sinclair User and Your Sinclair rated it so highly, with scores ranging between 85 and 9 out of 10. It's just a pedestrian racing game with the novelty that you can shoot people, really. C64 version, I always say on that system you don't have the choice of racers, but you have better racers than this. It's just repetitive and boring. Level 1 is the same as level 4 and 5. Really, with no new baddies to see, no end of level baddies. Overall, this just feels like yet another half-baked elite game, like Super Trucks. Got a fairly cool concept, and then we've just put a half-baked coding effort into this. And the most fatal thing with Overlander is once you've played it a few times, you won't want to play it anymore, because the game has not got any more to give than you'll see in the first few minutes of gameplay.